Alright, YouTube, let's investigate a myth that's been circulating around the internet, particularly now for some time, and why it's a myth rather than reality. And that's the Sounds to Hell, originally aired on the Art Bell Show, and presented on YouTube through numerous videos, particularly a user who represents Saint Brigida, which is apparently, as far as I can tell, a radical Catholic offshoot. Which follows some sort of radical New World prophecy. Um, Analyzing the myth goes like this. The contemporary notion of the Sounds of Hell is that there was a recording played on Art Bell. This recording was essentially what had happened was a group of Siberian miners in Russia had mined down several miles into the crust, and they came upon a pocket of hot air, so they lowered a microphone down in. We're never exactly sure why they put a microphone down there. We're also not sure why the microphone didn't melt, because at the temperatures that they're supposedly recorded it at, the microphone would have melted. So anyway, they put the microphone down, they get a recording because they have the presence of mind to record it for some reason. And it's people screaming and shrieking and talking about, like, there's demonic voices and stuff. So they all get scared and they leave, and, like, they shut down the mine or whatever. That's the going story. And then, of course, one of the people whose father was a mining engineer there gave him the recording. He gives it to Art Bell. He plays it on the show, and he's like, "This is very disturbing indeed," in his traditional Art Bell voice. And basically, it goes from there. And the idea being that it's proof that hell exists. While beyond the metaphysical problem of the fact that hell doesn't necessarily exist down inside the earth, even from a Christian perspective, unless you look at medieval notions of Christianity. In fact, before the medieval period, hell didn't have the same connotations it had in the medieval period. It was a drastically different place. It was never understood to be literally in the ground. It was understood to be an underworld symbolically and metaphorically, as it more and more is now. But let's look at the physical problems. The tape played on Art Bell, which you have heard on YouTube, is a fake. Number one, the event never happened. There was never a mining group of the name reported. There was never a mine shaft of the name reported. The incident never occurred. But let's assume the incident did occur. There's another problem. The recording isn't real. The recording you have heard is actually a clip from a horror film. Little did you know. That clip was taken and used by Trinity Broadcasting Network back in the 1990s, I believe it was. I think it was 92. As a part on the Sounds of Hell story. What happened is the Sounds of Hell story, which was originally made by a Finnish group, a Finnish fundamentalist Protestant sect, and they created a pamphlet and circulated it around in their location in Finland about this story. What happens is a representative from Trinity Broadcasting Network, and this is all recorded as having happened because we've got testimony by the people who originally brought the story to the USA. Somebody from the USA, from Trinity Broadcast, went to Finland and was meeting with these people, and they gave him the pamphlet. He took it at face value. What happened is Trinity Broadcast Network took the story, embellished it a little bit, and released a clip from a horror film as part of a story on the Sounds of Hell. The clip that they play for the Sounds of Hell, it was basically a prop, a sound prop for that segment. It was never actually understood to be real. It was a sound prop. They used it because it sounded ferocious and fearsome, but it was from a horror film. What ended up happening is somebody managed to foist Art Bell, and because obviously Art Bell wouldn't have known that this had actually gone on, probably the chances that he pays attention to what's on Trinity Broadcast every night is fairly low. So somebody, for their own religious purposes, released it on the Art Bell Show, probably to infiltrate the conspiracy theory groups which tend to listen to Art Bell with a Christian tinge. And it was a very effective propaganda tool because within months, of course, Everyone knows about the sounds of hell, and of course now it's all over YouTube. But the clip you've heard isn't real, and the event never occurred. The closest approximation to this story you can possibly get is that there are indeed some deep mines out in Siberia, and they do hit pockets of air, and they do make screeching sounds, but they are not the same. What probably ended up happening is the Finnish group probably heard some story from an itinerant Siberian who had heard screaming sounds underneath the ground when they were doing sounding because of the tectonic movement involved. But the sound clip isn't real, and the actual story itself isn't real. Now, you can go to Snopes.com and you can look up Sounds of Hell. They'll tell you the same story. Indeed, the events behind it never occurred, and it's basically nothing more than a propaganda tool for the right wing. Various fundamentalist Protestant organizations have used this clip now through both YouTube and on other media in order to enforce people's superstitions about the existence of some place where people go when they die to suffer because they didn't say Jesus was Lord. Or depending on the Christian cult that you ask, it could be because they were bad people and their acts were bad. It could be because Jesus doesn't save by grace and they did some other thing to piss Jesus off, or they denied the Holy Spirit, or it could be because they weren't born again, or they blasphemed God, or they did some mortal sin which changes from Christian group to Christian group. But be it known, the sounds of hell never happened. The Christian propaganda on YouTube circulating around, and you should give this video out to people who tell you, oh, well, the sounds of hell proves hell exists. Well, show them this video, and then have them go on Snopes and look it up for themselves, because what's happening is it's transferring word of mouth from person to person, and despite the fact that 99% of the people that watch those videos know they're full of bullshit, a handful of people don't. Primarily young children who are getting recruited into the ranks of fundamentalist Christians by a movie prop. And it's wrong for that to happen. They shouldn't be propagandized. If these Christian groups are really have as much veracity as they say they do, and they're as right as they say they do, and their God is as powerful as they say it is, then they shouldn't be stooping to such depths as propaganda. Makes them look a little bit like Nazis. So give this video out to people who you know who are potential victims of the scourge of the sounds of hell myth, because they need to know beforehand, before they watch one of these Alex Jones sort of bullshit videos, or Henry Macau, or any of these other characters, before they get involved with the generally racist and also quite superstitious cult activity of these individuals. They should know what's actually going on, because, I mean, it's only a matter of time before Alex Jones hears it and goes off the wall and says, oh, they proved hell really existed. So, peace out and share.